Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be, we are very, very close towards the end of Canto 1, Chapter 10. And today we will be hearing on verse 33, 34, and 35. And the class will be given by His Holiness Chandramali Swami. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and glories to Sri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hari Hari Bol.
Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasindhu vaivaccha patikanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaho namaha. Okay, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ataduragatam Saudhi Kodavam Virahaturam Sanivartyam Dridham Snigdam Prayatsvanagrim Priyai. Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dwarka with his dear companions. Kuru Jangala Panchalam Surasenam Sayamunam Brahmavartam Kurukshetram Matsyan Sarvasvatam Matam Marudanvam Matikramyam Saurira Viraiho Pranam Anartam Bhagavo Bhagach Chanvabaho Maga Vibahu. Translation: O Shanika, the Lord then proceeded towards Guru Jangala, Panchala, Surasena, the land on the bank of the river Jamuna, Brahmavarta, Kurukshetra, Matsya, Saraswata, the province of the desert, and the land of the scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached the Sauvira and Abhira provinces, then west of these reached Dwarka at last. Purport: the provinces passed over by the Lord in those days were differently named. The direction given is sufficient to indicate that he traveled through Delhi, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Saurashtra, and Gujarat, and at last reached his home province at Dwarka. We do not gain any profit simply by researching the analogous provinces of those days up to now, but it appears that the deserts of Rajasthan and the provinces of scanty water like Madhya Pradesh were present even 5,000 years ago. The theory of soil experts that the desert developed in recent years is not supported by the statements of Bhagavatam. We may leave the matter for expert geologists to research because the changing universe has different phases of geological development. We are satisfied that the Lord has now reached his own province, Dwarkadam. From the Kuru provinces, Shri Kurukshetra continues to exist since the Vedic age, and it is sheer foolishness when interpreters ignore or deny the existence of Kurukshetra. Gyan Timidandasya Gena Jana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Kucharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhuve Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see Bhagavatam not only deals with deep philosophical and transcendental matters of devotion, but gives us statements regarding geographical and geological arrangements that were there during the time of Lord Sri Krishna, and connects, as Prabhupada does, connects the places with the different names in the present day places. And he also challenges some of the statements given, especially in regard to Kurukshetra, and also certain geological developments. It's interesting that Srila Prabhupada, though a very pure devotee of the Lord who's fixed on devotion to Krishna and Vrindavan, and teaches that, but he also teaches in a broader sense geology, astronomy, physiology, psychology, mathematics, history, and various other sciences and subject matters from the perspective of the Vedic knowledge or the Vedic theories. Of course, they're not theories, they're actual factual statements. The Vedas contain all knowledge, both material and spiritual. Krishna points that out even in the Bhagavad Gita, that the Vedas deal mainly with the three modes of material nature. And so we find that in presenting Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada covered a wide gamut of topics, including economics, sociology, political arrangements, military, health, everything. You might think in terms of why did he cover all of these? Because he wanted to establish the Vedic culture as the real and bona fide culture of the human race, in contrast to what is going on now. We learn in school history, but history, from the Vedic point of view, is not simply facts and figures and events. It's the lives of the most important events and men at that time who carried out those events as the focus for historical knowledge and historical research. And not simply you go to school and you learn different things that have no really any meaning in your life. And they're just knowledge, they're just statements to fill up the history books, that's all. Here we're saying about geology, excuse me, geography, and land structures. So the point is that in becoming Krishna conscious, we have to accept everything that is coming by way of Vedic knowledge and not just pick and choose what we like and then mix in some of the modern day scientific theories, which are contrary to true Vedic knowledge. Vedas are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative Lord Brahma. Tene Brahmahida Adi Kavaye. Brahma heard all Vedic knowledge in the heart from Krishna directly. And Bhagavatam is the condensed essence of that knowledge. Of course, what we have and what we call Bhagavatam is a very limited edition of the Bhagavatam. The actual Bhagavatam contains millions and millions of verses. And even in the higher planets, such as the realms of the demigods, they have 1 million verses on Bhagavatam, and they don't have the complete Bhagavatam. So what we have is 18,000 verses, which is sufficient for enough study for many lifetimes and sufficient to give us self-realization in the form of transcendental knowledge and devotion. So this is very important to understand, that we should accept not only Prabhupada's statements about devotional service, but all his statements regarding the various categories that make up the human society. As Srila Prabhupada personally said, he wanted to bring back the Vedic culture in contrast to this materialistic culture, which is really based on a lot of speculation, focused on economic and sense gratificatory theories of success in life, and not on real values or statements. Even when they try to study beyond this planet, their knowledge is always incomplete. But the Vedas, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, has complete and perfect knowledge. So if you are versed in Srimad Bhagavatam, you are considered a learned scholar, not only in transcendental knowledge, but in all categories of life. Because as was explained by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavatam covers all subject matters in all areas of life. Of course, that would take some study to be able to reveal that, but it is all there in these 18,000 verses that we have. And it also has prophecy about what will be the future. Here, we're learning about a little historical event. The Battle of Kurukshetra is over. And now Krishna is at Hastinapur. King Yudhisthira has been situated on the throne. And now Krishna has taken care of all of his responsibilities. Now he's about to go to his place in Dwarka. Dwarka was a city created by Krishna in order to bring the residents of Vrindavan into Dwarka, many of them, not all of them, and so they would be free from the demons that were attacking Vrindavan at the time. And many of his intimate associates, friends, relatives, and others, because Krishna in Kurukshetra was in the mood of a Kshatriya, so many of his military associates also are there in Dwarka. So Krishna had a desire to return to Dwarka, having completed his business in Hastinapur. Now, it says here that they were, in the previous verse, the one that is not up, there was a great feeling of loss now that Krishna was going to leave, and the anticipation of separation were causing great emotional expressions of feelings towards Krishna, which makes it hard for Krishna to leave. In fact, he acquiesced to that previously before he actually decided to go without changing his mind. When Yudhisthira asked him to stay long, he stayed longer. When Subhadra also, she was also requesting him, and he also stayed longer also to give Subhadra, because Subhadra's husband, Abhimanyu, had been killed. So she needed some consolation. And the Lord stayed. just to satisfy his devotee, although he had made plans to leave much earlier than he actually left. So here we're learning a little bit about the love, or hearing about the love between the Lord and his parts and parcels in different areas, and how the Lord wants to satisfy the devotees and how the devotees want to serve the Lord in a way that he is pleased. And so when it comes to the thinking that the Lord will now leave and there will be separation, it becomes intolerable, just the thought, and it causes them great unhappiness. Of course, that unhappiness, because it's in relationship to their love for Krishna, is transcendental, and it awakens even greater forms of love towards Krishna in the mood of hankering for the association of Krishna. Even when he's still present and he hasn't fully left, they are feeling the separation already. The anticipation is so strong. And this mood of love and separation is the epitome of emotional expression. And in that love and separation, the beloved is experienced within the heart of the devotee who's feeling that separation. Because Krishna is not relegated to a particular place. When that separation becomes really strong, that person feels the presence of the Lord within their own heart. Still, they hanker for that presence on a personal level, but that presence in the Lord within the heart of his devotee is so sweet, but it's not simply sweet, it's like a chutney. A chutney is sweet, and some chutneys are really sweet, and chutneys are also a little spicy hot, and sometimes these two opposite forms of taste conflict over the taste buds, and the taste buds are going in different directions at the same time. But it is like that. They feel the happiness of the presence of the Lord within their heart and the pain that he is not personally present. So it's compared to a very well-formed chutney. And this is called Vipralamba Bhav. There is Sambhog and Vipralamba. Sambhog is meeting Krishna in love, and Vipralamba is hankering for that meeting, although it's not there. In the material world, sometimes we see there is an element of love and separation coming from people, such as two lovers are there and then there's some separation. But what happens is initially that love increases due to the separation. It's similar to what is happening on the spiritual platform. But what happens after a while, and this is always the case, is that the persons who are feeling that separation, if they don't meet after a certain period of time, they start losing interest in that relationship, and they look to fill that need for relationship with someone else, or they just simply become miserable and therefore they don't really grow in life. But therefore material mood of separation from a beloved is not the same as it is on the spiritual platform, because Krishna is never separated from his devotee, but it appears he is. And in that appearance, that hankering for that union again becomes very strong. In fact, it becomes so strong that even when the union comes, the anticipation of separation causes the union to lose some of the happiness that is there. that when the union comes after separation, the beloved or the lover actually starts to feel that the beloved will soon leave. And then again, I will be thrown in this whirlwind of separation, hankering for that meeting and once again. So meeting can not even become perfected when the mood of separation is always prominent within the heart and mind. But that is the mood of bhakti, and it's the mood of a devotee, because we are separated from the Lord, and therefore to develop that mood of separation is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood that he taught. Taking the role of Srimati Radharani, he was worshiping Krishna in that mood, always hankering for Krishna's presence. He would also go into deep states of consciousness where he would lose external connection with the material existence, and he would be in Vrindavan with the gopis and with Krishna, experiencing that. And then when he would come out of that, he was either brought out of that by his devotees or he would come out of it himself. He would feel overwhelmingly more miserable in the mood of love and separation. And so for us, we can cultivate that mood in the process of our day-to-day execution of Krishna consciousness, hankering for the association of Krishna. And that is expressed by our desire to serve Krishna in a loving way. In other words, we do our service in such a way to attract the presence of Krishna to come and accept our service. And if he does, then we feel very happy because we know he is accepting this service and we can feel his presence. But after some time, he leaves again and the devotee again feels lost. But the devotee doesn't give up their service, because the service is what reconnects the devotee with Krishna, even in the mood of separation. And the expression of that, the quality of that service, both in the activity itself and in the devotion, heightens that loving relationship. And when it's not possible to be separated anymore from the Lord, then Krishna will take the devotee back to the spiritual world. That is perfection in devotional service, when it becomes impossible to live without Krishna by being in this material world. Then we have reached the stage of perfection in loving relationship. But we practice that, and that is the mood of separation. Sometimes it's compared to what is called Purvaras. Purvaras means loving Krishna before meeting Krishna. The little gopis, when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, many of the younger gopis had never saw Krishna, but they were always thinking of Krishna, so they developed a mood of loving Krishna before meeting Krishna. They had heard about Krishna, but they had never met Krishna. And so Krishna, when he lifted Govardhan Hill, he wanted to satisfy these gopis by giving them his darshan for 7 complete days. And they were completely satisfied to simply take darshan of the beautiful form of Krishna standing there holding this big hill above his head and smiling at the same time. He wasn't like Atlas, who has to lift the world on his back and he's struggling and he's got a lot of big muscles. Sometimes he drops it. He has to re-pick it up again. And so they caricature, this person picking it. But Krishna picks up Govardhan Hill with a little pinky of his left hand. And he can also do that with the entire universe. For him, it's not even an effort. No, that's Krishna. But the mood of separation is very sweet. And the mood that devotees should practice in their, not that, oh, well, Krishna's out here, not here. Well, I'll just go do something else. No. Otherwise, if you go do something else, then you're just pushing Krishna farther away. That's all. When we are not with Krishna, but hankering for Krishna and expressing our love for Krishna by serving Krishna in a way that is pleasing to Krishna, Krishna accepts that love and he appears in the hearts of his devotees, and the devotee feels satisfied. So this is Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I'll stop there. We covered a few of the aspects of this particular verses here. Oh, I'd also like to mention before we stop that the last line is very important, that Kurukshetra continues to exist since the Vedic age. It is, as Prabhupada said, it is sheer foolishness when interpreters ignore or deny the existence of Kurukshetra. Many devotees have been there. I have personally been to Kurukshetra. We've also seen that the area where the battlefield was, that area was more than 21 miles in existence, that area. It was huge. The whole battlefield area was more than 20 miles. So you can imagine, how many soldiers, infantry, and elephants and horses and chariots and weaponry was there on that battlefield. It's huge. And it's even been proven that that area is the original Kurukshetra, because I don't know, maybe about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 20 years ago, they found Bhima's club. Digging in one place in Kurukshetra, they uncovered a huge club. It was really large. It was bigger than a man. And this club is said to be the club of Bhima when he was there in Kurukshetra. So there are many other artifacts and remnants that have been discovered in that area. And Kurukshetra is one of the most holiest of all places. It's the place where the gopis met Krishna. When they came from Vrindavan to see Krishna in Kurukshetra, they left Vrindavan. That's a very sweet and very, very deep expression of emotion by not only the gopis, but many of the residents of Vrindavan, including Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd man and others who had met Krishna after being away from Krishna for a long time. But the gopis weren't satisfied when they saw Krishna because he was dressed in his military clothing, and they couldn't identify with that. They only know Krishna in his beautiful yellow dhoti and with a peacock feather, with his beautiful, beautiful smiling face, and decorated with forest minerals and flowers in different places around his transcendental form. So yes, Kurukshetra still exists. We've been there. We've seen the area. They've also erected, and is now, I think there's a plan to build a temple there. The plan has been there for years. There has been resistance by the local people in Kurukshetra, mostly the politicians, for whatever reason. But I think after now we've gotten permission, and there will be a temple, an ISKCON temple in Kurukshetra. We have smaller places. The Gaudiya Math, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's devotees have created many mosques there in Kurukshetra, which are quite famous and frequented by many, many pilgrims. Yeah. So Kurukshetra still exists. Dharmashetra, Kurukshetra, Samaveda, Yuyuksavaha, Pandava, Kim Makurvata Sanjayaha. Dharmashetra, Kurukshetra, Dharmashetra, Kurukshetra. Oh, forgot the verse. Anyway, it's the first verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Dharmashetra, Kurukshetra. What was the next line?
Samaveda Yusavaha.
What is it?
Samaveda Yusavaha.
Samaveda Yuyuksavaha.
Mamakam.
Pandavas
Pandavas Chaiva.
Chaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjayaha. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dhritarashtra is speaking. Dhritarashtra Uvacha, yeah. And he's asking Sanjay, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do after assembling at the holy place of Kurukshetra? Prabhupada says, this is a very silly question. I'm not Yudhisthira, but what is it? Dhritarashtra is asking a silly question. When two armies come together at a holy place and are ready to fight, what are they going to do? They're going to fight. So the question is obvious, or the answer is obvious. But to set the stage for the speaking of the Bhagavad Gita, this verse sets the place as Kurukshetra as being Dharmashetra. It is not only a place of pilgrimage, but it is a place of great devotion. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that the highest form of service is anywhere is performed in Kurukshetra. And he writes about that. The highest form of service is that Srimati Radharani and the gopis have now come to see Krishna, but they cannot really enter into that mood of devotion to Krishna that was so prominent when Krishna was with them in Vrindavan. So what is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati saying? Radharani is now feeling lost. She needs consolation. She needs someone to help her go through this struggle of seeing Krishna, but not being able to identify with that Krishna as she did when he was in Krishna in Kurukshetra and Krishna in Vrindavan, appear to her to be different, and therefore her mood of devotion is not the same. So therefore, the highest service one can perform is to pacify Radharani in her anxiety of seeing Krishna in Kurukshetra and arranging for Krishna to come back to Vrindavan, which is if it does, and that is called the Rath Yatra ceremony. And one who performs that service performs the highest service directly to Srimati Radharani. That's written, and it's really deep. When you read it, you're astonished. How can Kurukshetra be the highest service that one can perform to Srimati Radharani? You would think it's Vrindavan. But according to the pure acharyas, this service and separation and the lamentation of the anxiety that comes by way of not able to express that love and relationship to Krishna is found in Kurukshetra. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was such a beautiful class and walking us through this journey of the glories of Kurukshetra. Would like to ask devotees, you have any questions, any comments, clarification, please. You can either raise your hand or jump right in. I will call upon you if you show the raised hand. Going down the list here. I think I'm going to probably stop sharing screen because actually that's not me. I have to ask Brenda to stop sharing screen so that we can, there we go, perfect. So Marja, I have a question while the other devotees are thinking of questions is, as you were speaking on the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj, and you were saying how Srimad Bhagavatam has every subject, that's in it. But how, as devotees, how can we understand and present Srimad Bhagavatam as an all-around organization? Because we tend to just speak more of it, which is great. We tend to speak more of it from the Krishna conscious spiritual point of view. But at least for me, I don't come across or don't encounter devotees speaking on the other aspects of life.
Yeah, that's there. It's also, they talk about family planning. That's in there. How to find the proper husband and wife. That's also in Bhagavatam. Everything is there. Science is there. The fifth canto is full of scientific knowledge. The 11th and 12th canto full of prophecy and various subject matters. Everything is there. Ayurveda is there. It's all there. And Prabhupada has said it. I'm just simply repeating his words. He said, every subject matter is in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is a direct statement from his divine grace. And it's a fact. The more you read and the more you hear, because you have to not only read it, you won't get everything if you read it. You have to hear from the commentators who speak about the different verses in Bhagavatam, and then you'll go deeper into the knowledge and to the variety of the different subjects that are in Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, it comes by way of the acharyas, and particularly in our case, Srila Prabhupada.
So, Maharaj, as you were speaking about the scientific aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam, what came to my mind is Sadhuputta Prabhu's books, and he was a mathematician, I think, or a scientist. Was his books, Maharaj, based on the Bhagavatam? Because it was like really far out. Like
Yeah, based on the fifth canto. Many of his books. But he also researched other Vedic literatures too.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any questions from devotees on this beautiful, verses of Lord Krishna going through the journey? Maharaj, I was really enjoying as you were speaking about the glories of Kurukshetra, and it's so interesting that many years ago, I used to always ask myself that I always hear the glories of Mathura, Vrindavan, and Mayapur, but not much is spoken on Kurukshetra, like 20 something years ago. And now it's so nice to hear that. Maharaj, can you add more glories, or can you share with us more about the glories of Kurukshetra?
Well, there's Brahmakund there, Brahmakund. And once a year, during, I think it's a solar eclipse, or a particular time of the year when the astrological arrangements is there, millions of people come and take bath right at sunrise on this beautiful and very huge kund. I think it's called Brahma Kund. Yeah. Right across the street from Brahma Kund is the Gaudiya Math, the chief center of the Gaudiya Math in Kurukshetra. I was there, and of course, there is that place where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. And they have a glass case where there is Arjuna and Krishna in the chariot sitting inside this huge glass case. They indicate where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, I spent some time there. We actually spent maybe a few days there with one family there. They were a very wonderful family, and we spent time at their house. We were traveling around to different areas in Kurukshetra. You would have to get more or less a more complete guide where it explains what's in Kurukshetra. I'm sure maybe some of you who are sitting listening today have been to Kurukshetra and know some of the other places that have been there, that are there also.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, Mother Shri Devi, please go ahead with the question.
Thank you, Anasya. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your divine lotus feet. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for this class emphasizing how important it is to understand all the various subject matters are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the science of dwelling places called Vastu Shastra, where houses were scientifically designed to align with all the different energies and bring health, wealth, prosperity, peace, everything to the inhabitants to foster their Krishna consciousness also, is almost lost today, where we have any construction happening anyhow, anywhere, with no regard to, to even basic needs being met of the future inhabitants of that home. What to speak of high rises and skyscrapers and things like that, where people don't even, sometimes come down to Mother Earth for days together. So I was wondering, what impact do these kind of structures have on us? Would you kindly be able to tell something on this topic?
Which structures? You mean the material ones or the ones in the Vedic culture?
No, I'm talking about today's dwelling places or homes constructed without any regard for Vastu Shastra.
Well, these concrete and steel buildings actually they work against the physical rhythm of the body. And people get sick easy, they get depressed, their lives are shortened. Now you got 4G and then you got 5G coming up. When 5G starts hitting in a grand way, people are going to be dying like crazy. All of this modern civilization it's a bunch of barbarians who are trying to kill each other. That's all it is. That's what's today's civilization. They're fighting over land, they're fighting over money, they're fighting over power and prestige. And sense gratification is the only aim in life. So these big buildings that they build, stack them up high. Prabhupada says they didn't live like that in Vedic cultures. Of course, he said they also had big buildings, and not so much they were like palaces, not like these little boxes where you get a room and 2 rooms and a bathroom and a kitchenette, and it's more like being in prison. That's what it is.
So we are actually shortening our lives. We are actually impairing our health what to speak of our relationships and, anything that is going to foster a sense of connection with Mother Earth, all that is lost by these kind of structures and these kind of buildings, which have no regard for the well-being of the occupants.
Yeah, Prabhupada's plan for the future was farm communities, simple living. Not just for the devotees, but for the whole world.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Maharaj, just, piggybacking on Shruti Mataji's question. So because, devotees that don't live in farm communities and they live outside of the farm communities and they are, and they have homes that they purchase. And we know that, like she was saying, in today's homes, it's not based on Vastu Shastra. It's just, erected buildings on whatever. So as devotees, because we know that the home, is not Vastu Shastra based in terms of how they build it, how can we make our home, lack of a better word, Vastu Shastra, without breaking the foundation down, and still be able to perform devotional service and not have it shorten our life because it's so not in alignment?
I'm the prime example for that question. I got the answer because I went through it and I'm still going through it. And so I have a disciple. She's in Slovenia. They gave me an apartment in Slovenia. It was the worst place I could ever possibly be because the energy was so bad that when I got there, I wanted to leave immediately. And I just kept saying, I have to get out of here. So, but I had no choice because it was the lockdown time when I had no place to go. So I called in my disciple, and with her husband, both of them know Vastu, but she's expert. She does it as a profession. So she came in and she drew maps and she told me where to align the different activities in my house accordingly and avoid certain places like that. So it kind of helped bring about a little better energy. Yeah. And I have a little, like a spigot, a picture. It's about this big, not very big. And it has a swastika on it, but it's not a swastika. It's that symbol that you see on Vedic temples. So I put that in the bathroom filled with water, and it draws the negative energy that is in the area into that water, and then you throw the water out and change it about once a week, like that. So I do that. And I had to move some of the things that I was, where I sleep, where I work, where I worship. Everything had to be changed around until I got it to a little bit of a better energy, but it'll never get ideally because the Brahmastan is the bathroom. So my bathroom is my Brahmastan, which is the center of the house. That's the area. The door's on backwards. Everything is goofy. Yeah. So so I do a lot of chanting and I put pictures up all over the place, and I keep it super clean, and so I try to recreate or upgrade the spiritual energy to some degree like that. But I can feel the difference when I leave there and I go to other places, how it is when the difference, the effects that it has on sleeping, the effects it has on chanting, all of that is different in that place because of it's really bad. Mine is really bad. Maybe most houses are not so bad. So you can bring in someone who knows Vastu. There are devotees who do that, and get an evaluation, an alteration of, some of the things in the house that could be moved from place to place, some things that could be changed, some things that could be placed in the house to help draw negative energy away, like that. Various types of yantras you can place. But the best thing is just chant all day. That's all. If you chant all day, then the more you chant, have kirtan in the house, then it'll start to upgrade. Now you know her very good, Sri Devi. It's Mahalakshmi now from Slovenia. You know her. She's the wife of Anandavardhana.
Ah, yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for telling me. I didn't know that she was doing Vastu also.
Oh,
I knew
she's
she
good.
was doing
Yeah.
astrology. Thank you.
I'll contact you, Sri Devi, to get the information. Thank you. Yes,
You
Mother
need-
Geeta.
You need
I'm sorry,
somebody
Maharaj.
you need somebody on the spot, somebody in your local area to come in and draw maps, do an evaluation, give suggestions.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, Mother Geeta, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. Maharaj, you practically answered my question I was going to ask, but if supposing we don't have a local devotee to evaluate, is there any book or any place where we can get information that we can at least on our own try to see what's the situation of the house?
The science of Vastu is becoming more and more available now in the modern world. And there are now more and more books are coming out, but there are some really books that are expert. So what you would need to do is get opinions from different persons who are expert in that field and see which books they recommend, because there are many. And yeah, you could read and you can make some improvements on your own. Like you should never have your workplace and your sleeping place in the same room. You shouldn't have your desk in the same room that you sleep. That's just an example.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Vrindavan Nath Prabhu, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, you mentioned about loving Krishna in like this mode of separation. So my question is related to Shikshastakam verse 7 and 8, where loving Krishna in separation versus loving Krishna in meeting. Which one is higher mode? And also, how to develop this mood where we feel that Lord is completely free to do anything and everything?
Mm-hmm. Well, verse 7 is Vipralamba and verse 8 is Sambhog. But the mood of surrender appears from these series of verses to culminate in the last verse, Alishyava Paravatam Pinastumam Adarshanam Marmahatam Karotuva Yatatatava Viradatu Lampatam Matpranam Nastu Saeva Naparaha. This complete and utter selfless service and sacrifice. There's no self conception left anymore. I simply belong to Krishna 100% in thought, word, action, everything. And that is illustrated in the last verse, which is Sambhog. But the expression or the experience of loving emotions is heightened in the mood of Vipralambha. Yugaitam yameshena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. Feeling your separation, I considered a moment to be 12 years or more. Tears are falling from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. One moment seems like 12 years. When one knows that time is a perception of consciousness and not simply a two hands on a clock. So how we experience time is due to our consciousness. When we're happy, time goes fast. When we're sad, time goes slow. When we wait, time stops. When we love, then there's no more time.
So we can develop, Guru Maharaj, this mood by devotional service like chanting and serving.
Yeah, these are the two things, chanting and serving. Prabhupada says chanting is the essence, it's the foundation, it's the highest, but without service, it doesn't develop beyond a certain point. It's supportive and also necessary.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That was a very nice question, Vrindavan Prabhu, because I sometimes as devotees, we always forget the concept, I think, Maharaj, and probably if you could shed some light, if it's possible, that we think that meeting the Lord is more important or more advanced or more progressive in Krishna consciousness than Vipralambha Seva. And how can, because it's I see, Maharaj, that it's not just everyone, it's even me, like personally, like we get so caught up in that, oh, I have to meet the Lord, I have to meet the Lord, as opposed to, you know, understanding that service is service, it's Vipralambha Seva. How can we see the importance, Maharaj, of service, whether it's away from the temple, as opposed to, no, it's important to be doing service in the temple? You know, like, I don't know if I'm making sense.
You're trying to, you're talking about separation from the temple?
You know, yeah, kind of, not from the temple, Mars. Like, for example, I remember this happened many years ago in Gitanagari, and Bhaktitirtha Swami was giving darshan, and you know, as you know, as usual, whenever a guru is giving darshan, whoever it is, all the devotees want to run for the darshan, and they don't want to, you know, do their service, and they find someone to, you know, cover their service so that they can get the darshan. And I remember Mother Vrajalila really chastising this devotee and saying, you know, you wanted to go to darshan, but you had someone else, you know, this devotee asked me to cover his deity service, and she was like, she was not happy, but she was telling us, to this person and me, that the importance is not showing up in front of the spiritual master, say, oh, I came for a darshan, but to make sure that the service is also, you know, being covered. So how can we develop that mood, Maharaj, that you
Yeah,
know.
it appears to be it appears to conflict, but ultimately we associate through service. If we have an opportunity to go, we should go. But if it means giving up our service and the service is not being done, then our going is more like for us and not for the guru. The guru likes to see us come, so he's giving darshan. But then again, we may have service that cannot be. If it's a practical thing, if someone will agree to cover your service, fine. But if you're kind of forcing them or bribing them, then that would be it would be like taking advantage of that other person. So, it's almost like they're conflicting. You want to be with the spiritual master in here, and at the same time, you have your prescribed duties. I had the same thing. When Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan, I was in the kitchen cooking, and the devotees. Well, I'll give you an example, maybe a better one is Prabhupada's servant, Shruti Kirti. When Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan in 1972 for the Janmashtami festival, Prabhupada stayed there a whole week, and there were many classes. Shruti Kirti was the cook at the time, and he couldn't go to the classes and the lectures because he had to continue to cook for all the devotees who were there. But at the end of the time that when Prabhupada was about to leave, Prabhupada came to Kirtananda Swami and said, I need a personal assistant. Can you give me someone? And then Kirtananda Swami said, well, actually, Shruti Kirti, he's been here and he's been doing nice service and doing his service nicely. He didn't even get any of your association. So he can be your servant now. So he sacrificed, and then he got the greatest amount of mercy. He became Prabhupada's personal servant. So I also had the same benefit that when I didn't go, I cooked for Prabhupada, and Prabhupada liked my cooking, and the message I got back from Prabhupada was he was very pleased. So, yeah. But
Mark,
it's not.
how can we? I'm sorry, Mark.
It's not one way or the other. Sometimes you just think, I gotta go. I gotta hear. I gotta get that association. I mean, if it's like sometimes I've seen devotees do their service in advance, and then they get it all done in advance, and then they can go, and then they come back and finish it when they get back. So, you can't fault that because both it's just natural to want to be and hear from the spiritual master. Jayananda Prabhu, we heard about him, how when Prabhupada came, he would never go to see Prabhupada. He would always be working. Prabhupada would call for him and ask him, where is Jayananda? Oh, he's doing this service or that service. He always felt that to serve is higher than to come and sit and have the association. And Prabhupada accepted it in that way also.
And March, you used a very nice term, associating through service. And how can we develop that?
Where do you understand who the service is for? It's not just to fill up the clock with activities.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for shedding light on that. It's such and especially the pastimes. It's so beautiful when you act to it. It's like, wow. Thank you, Maharaj. Any questions from devotees? Any thoughts coming? Any takeaways? Anything? Please do jump right in. And if there isn't, Maharaj, would you like to end with one round of chanting, Maharaj? It's your call, Maharaj. You don't have to do it. If you have something, I'm fine. I just don't want to disobey your instruction. That's why I'm asking.
If I said no, I'd be selfish. And if I'd said yes, I'd be happy.
Whatever pleases you and it works with your schedule, Maharaj.
Okay. I'm glad you asked me because it really sets the stage for my next activity, which is prasadam. A little japa before prasad.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I think it's prasadam on your side too. It's breakfast, right?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, it is.
I'm a little bit, I'm in lunch here.
Are you back in Europe, Maharaj?
Yeah, I'm in Croatia right now.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Like that.
Is Mahima cooking for you, Maharaj?
I'm going to their house tonight.
Haribol! Oh, wonderful, Maharaj. Please offer my obeisances to them, Maharaj. I haven't seen her for years.
Yeah, and tomorrow she'll be in the kitchen.
Haribol. Oh, that's nice.
Yes. Okay. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Kanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving us your association and your darshan and your blessings. And we thank the devotees for joining us. Vanchakapatubhyascha, Prikasindavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Srila Prabhupada ki. His Holiness Chandramali Swami ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
See you next month.
in US?
No. I mean, see you next month on the. We'll be June, but next time I come here, right?
I got overexcited, Maharaj. Pre-excited.
Well,
I'm being greedy, Maharaj.
I'm coming to the U.S., so but maybe in late July, probably. That's.
We look forward to having your darshan, Maharaj, and your mercy and blessings.
Okay.
Maharaj,
speaking a strange language.
Maharaj, please put Atlanta on your list.
Atlanta, oh yeah. Let's see.
Please.
I spent many days in Atlanta Temple. What's the name of that street that the temple is on? It's Ponce de Leon, right?
Yes.
That's right. I remember Ponce de Leon. Yeah. Temple is nice. Prabhupada came there many times, gave some really powerful classes there, especially in the beginning of March, the very last day in February, and the first few days in March in 1975. Prabhupada came there, really landmark classes. Atlanta was once the best book distribution temple in the U.S.
Yes, Maharaj.
You got wonderful devotees like Balabhadra. He's still there. Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj.
Balabhadra's been there for 30 or 40 years, I think. That's the only one I know. And then Veda Sara, he's still there?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Please come.
We did a Rath Yatra with them. And Atlanta Temple is, it's Nupanihati, right?
Yes, Maharaj. And the Rath Yatra is first week of June.
Yeah, so will Jayapataka Maharaj come this year for Panihati?
He visited a month ago, but he's back in India now.
Oh, okay. When he does Panihati there, it's like out of this world.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. I have many nice memories of Atlanta.
Maybe when you visit, you can relive them, Maharaj. Please come.
Also, Bhakti Tirtha Swami and I were dancing in Rath Yatra in Atlanta one year. You remember that, Anasuya, huh?
Yes, Maharaj.
What year was that? 1999 or something like
I
that?
think it was 94.
94, probably. Yeah, it was even 94. Yeah, that was a wild Rath Yatra. Kurukshetra, I think, was there, right?
Yes, Maharaj. He was the van driver for all the devotees back and forth.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Hare Krishna.
Nice memories. And Gaurnitai still stands on the middle altar, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And Radha Krishna is on the right altar, right?
Yes, Radha Madana Mohan.
And Radha Madan Mohan, and on the left over is Jagannath, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
So that because it was such a powerful Sankirtan temple, they made Gaurnitai the main deities on the altar. Yeah, in Atlanta. Yeah. I'll try.
Mother Gita, I think you got Maharaj reliving the memory, so he might come.
Yes. I hope and pray.
Many nice memories of Atlanta. Okay, I should go because there are upcoming activities.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And we really look forward to your visit in Pennsylvania. Really, really can't wait. Thank you so much.
Hare